reaction to the death of Iranian Supreme Leader Khamenei. He died alongside several family members in joint strikes conducted by US and Israel. In these strikes, several top military and political leaders of Iran were also killed. What do you have to say about this, and how did you feel when you first heard the news?
Well, when I first heard the news, I was in shock because this is something that we Iranians have been hoping and praying for 47 years. And so it took me a little bit of time to even be able to take in the news. But I was very emotional. I was very happy, and I'm very grateful to the United States and Israel for exterminating Ali Khamenei because he is the modern day equivalent of Hitler. And so for us Iranians, this was very, very good news. And not just me, but Iranians in Iran and all around the world were celebrating the news of the death of Khamenei and his family members.
So you mentioned Iranians were celebrating, but we have also been hearing and reading about the oppressions of women under Ayatollah rule. However, we also saw images from Iran of women and men crying following the announcement of death. How should we see these kind of images, because they portray a different side of Iran?
Of course, so they are the minority. They are the very, very small minority. They are people who are affiliated with the Islamic regime. So they work with the regime, they're paid by the regime. And these are the same people, by the way, who for the last 5, 6 weeks have slaughtered almost 90,000 innocent unarmed Iranians. So they are the family members of the Basij. They are the people who are part of the Islamic regime. However, when you look at the video and the footage that's coming out, the number of people who are crying because the supreme dictator was exterminated is very, very small compared to the number of people who are happy and celebrating. You know, there is, of course, unfortunately, a segment of the Iranian population that is, supportive of the Islamic regime. However, many of them aren't even Iranian. There's also many people there who are from Afghanistan, from Pakistan, from Lebanon, from Gaza, from Iraq. So it's a mix there, but there is a small population. But they are the terrorists. They are the same people who are murdering the rest of us.
So at the same time, I also want to get your reaction to the attack on a girls' school in southern
Mm,
Iran. At
mm.
least 153 people, including children, were killed after a strike hit the school. What is your response to that? Because this is not justified in any sense.
Yeah, so I mean, my response to that is who released the news? Who released the news? The news was released by the Islamic Republic. We have no indication of the names. We have no indication of the number. From all reports that I have seen, this was in fact a direct result of a missile that was misfired by the Islamic regime. So it was the Islamic regime's missile itself that hit the residential school. And if there were any children that were murdered, it's completely at the hands of the Islamic regime. However, this is what these Muslim terrorists do. They lie. So very similar to how Hamas murders Palestinians and blames Israel, the Islamic regime is now trying to do the same thing. But we have not seen any footage. We have not seen any evidence. And this news is coming from Islamic regime sources. And unfortunately, everyone unfortunately, mainstream media is sharing that news. However, from everything that I have seen and heard on the ground, there's no other reports or indications that this had anything to do with the United States or Israel.
Ma'am, I also want to understand from you. You must be in touch with like-minded people in Iran. Are they planning any kind of uprising now that the regime appears to have been weakened?
Yes, absolutely. So the uprising is in process. However, there's two important messages here. So the first one is President Trump. President Trump said that right now is not the time to go out because the United States is currently, in the middle of a military operation along with Israel. So it is very dangerous for Iranians to go out. He said to everyone, stay inside, be safe, and when the time is right, you can come out. And then on the flip side, we have the leader of the Iranian National Revolution, the Iranian Lion and Sun Revolution, His Royal Highness, the Crown Prince of Iran, Reza Pahlavi. He put out a message a few days ago. He also said to Iranians, now is not the time to come out. Now is the time to stay inside, to be safe. And he said that upon my message, upon my signal, then I will let everyone know when it is safe to come out. So right now, Iranians inside of Iran, they are basically getting ready, getting prepared. They're waiting for the signal, and as soon as the signal comes, you're going to see the biggest uprising, even bigger than what happened a month ago.
Ma'am, if not today, but like in near future, there will be an uprising. But how realistic is the idea of this regime change? Because one of the stated goals of these attacks by the US and Israel was reportedly regime change, and they said it. The Trump also mentioned it. However, we are also already seeing new leadership taking over in Iran. Is regime change possible now, ma'am?
New leadership with who?
With Iranian, we see
But who?
announcement of
Can you give me a name?
with the announcement we are seeing the announcement by Iranian government that uh, a new council will take over.
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, so the Islamic regime, yeah, the Islamic regime appointed a new supreme dictator,
Yeah.
and we've already heard rumors that he's dead as well. He's been exterminated. So, President Trump and Prime Minister Netanyahu have made it very clear that they want the regime to be exterminated. The only outcome for the regime is either they can surrender or they can die. So, I mean, the Islamic regime can appoint whoever they want. It's irrelevant. The Islamic regime is over. The Iranian people have made it very clear that they do not want this government anymore. It is an illegitimate foreign occupying force. So the regime can continue replacing whoever they want with whoever they want, but the reality is they're illegitimate, and anyone that they try to replace, they'll be exterminated within 24 hours.
Ma'am, what we are seeing on the ground is tensions are running high. Iran military is striking several countries in the region and refusing to back down. A leading Iranian cleric has also declared jihad against United States and Israel. What is your assessment of the situation? Because if this war continues and this conflict uh, involve more regional and international player, it could kill more ordinary people, including women and children, and because they are most likely to suffer the most. How concerned are you about the possibility, ma'am?
I mean, it's certainly very concerning. I mean, this is a brutal Islamic dictatorship that has occupied Iranians for the last 47 years. So they have occupied us and murdered us in the name of Allah and Islam and jihad for 47 years. So just imagine if they're willing to do that to Iranians, look at how they're treating other countries. I just hope that this is a lesson for those foreign governments who have supported the Islamic regime in the past and put their own citizens in danger by keeping this Islamic regime around. I hope this is a lesson for them to never trust terrorist groups and to never try to legitimize terrorist organizations. My thoughts and prayers are with every single person in the Middle East and around the world who's been impacted by the violence of these vicious terrorists. In fact, I myself today received death threats from an Islamic terrorist group, and I've had to file a police report as well. So it is a very dangerous situation. But the longer that the regime stays around, the more people's lives will be at risk. And so, President Trump has made the decision that it is in the best interests of Americans to destroy the Islamic regime. And hopefully it'll happen sooner rather than later. And I think that's what we're starting to see.
Ma'am, what does this movement, I want to understand from you, what does this movement mean for Iranians living in exile? If the and I also want to ask you personally, because if this current regime were no longer in control of the country, would you consider returning to Iran?
I would absolutely consider returning to Iran to help rebuild my country. Yes, 100%. And that's a feeling that many Iranians have around the world. 10% of the Iranian population live outside of occupied Iran. That's because the vast majority of us wanted to escape Islam, to escape the Islamic dictatorship. Now that Iran is on the verge of freedom, the feeling and the mood that all of us have is we finally have an opportunity not only to go back home, but to use the skills that we have learned from other countries to take those skills with us and to help rebuild our country and help create that secular democratic society that we all want to have.